Hey everyone, Wonton back to bring another One Piece tournament match. This time we have Lucci versus Law. If you're wondering what his leader is, that's a custom leader he got as a gift. It's Rob Lucci's Zoan form, just in case you were wondering what was going on here. He won the high roll, and so he chose to go second, as we both do want to go second. Nothing crazy with our starts here. It's just Law doing Law stuff, popping out small drops while he just passes his first turn because odds are he's not going to have anything to play here. He is playing the CP9 variant, and so he's going to air door here on curve. And he manages to hit a Kumadori. So as you can see there, he trashed two Sakazukis with his air door. And so I'm going to Bonnie this turn, and I had the choice between a Zoro and a Hawkins. And I was thinking, okay, I've seen two Sakazukis already. Maybe now's the time to take Hawkins and just develop him early, just to start applying extra pressure and making it a little bit more dangerous for him to swing with his own characters. But I decided that it might just be best to pick the safer choice, which is Zoro, because if he manages to knock out Hawkins, it's a huge tempo loss for us, and we do lose the added pressure that Zoro provides, because even though he used up a Sakaz, he's already given up two Sakazukis, he could still remove it fairly easily. And it's going to turn out later that he does have the other two Sakazukis in his hand, so that did end up being the better play here. So Law's advantage in these types of matchups where you're playing against slower, more control-based decks like black or yellow is that you can quickly just overwhelm and out-tempo them before they get to do anything. And so that is going to be our game plan here, because they are only able to play about 1 to 2 cards usually per turn, just because their cards cost a lot more Dawn because they generate a little bit more value than other cards. And so we're going to protect our Zoro here. And we're going to play a Bonnie just to begin generating our own card advantage here. And grabbing the Drake off of the search there is very big, because we're able to swing the tempo even further into our advantage by popping that Kumadori here. So first, we're just gonna swing 5k with our Dedan here before shambling her out for the Drake to pop the Kumadori. And I just want to remind you guys that it is very important against Black too to just swing as often as you can, just because they do have problems with keeping cards in their hand. And so if you're just constantly peppering them with 5,000 attacks throughout the game, they're just going to eventually run out of cards. So he's going to start off this turn by swinging into Bonnie with his leader, which we are going to block with Chopper. And then again, he's going to swing into Bonnie with Sakazuki. And once again, we're going to block that with Chopper because Bonnie is too important to this deck. She is the engine that keeps this deck going, and maintaining your card advantage by just continuously drawing with her is just too important to the strategy of this deck. And so now he's going to play out the rest of his turn by dropping the Kaku and the Fukuro, and he is going to pop the Zoro instead of the Bonnie with the Kaku, just because he is getting a little bit low and he does need to relieve a little bit of pressure on the board. And so we managed to successfully defend the Bonnie because it would have taken him some extra Dawn if he wanted to get rid of her, and so he wouldn't be able to take a more defensive strategy like he just did if he did so. So we're going to see the impact of defending that Bonnie immediately here. She's going to be enabling this huge turn we have, where we're going to start off by searching out a blocker Law, and then just filling up the rest of the board with our 1-drop searchers just to maintain our card advantage and fill up the board. And then we're going to continue to apply pressure by grabbing that Zoro and then just dropping him and swinging for an attack. I think that this was really the turning point of the game, and we had just enough Dawn to do what we wanted. We were able to fill out the board by pumping out our searchers. So at the same time, we're able to shambles out the Law and still maintain our hand size. And at the same time, we were able to apply a little bit of extra pressure by dropping that Zoro there. So here we're going to bounce back the Bonnie just to protect her, because we might be able to generate a little bit more value out of her later, rather than just bouncing back the Zoro again just for an extra attack. Although looking back now, it may have been a little bit greedy, because he is running low on life and cards, so maybe that extra swing from Zoro might have been better, just because he's already under a large amount of pressure here. And he's going to once again drop the fourth Sakazuki we've seen this game and just get rid of that Law. And so unfortunately you guys can't see my hand, but we did have potential lethal because we had a Makino in hand and a Rush Luffy. And so depending on how he reacts to our upcoming attacks, we may potentially be able to finish him off next turn. And so I was a little bit more okay with letting go of the Zoro and the Drake here, just because we also won't have too much trouble refilling the board. So first we're just going to swing 5,000 with our leader just to see how he reacts. So he counters out that first attack from our leader with a 1,000 counter. He's down to 1 life, 1 blocker, and 1 card in hand. Maybe I should have swung 7 with the Dan here, but I thought there was a good chance that the last card in his hand did not have a counter. Unfortunately, it did. It was a Fukuro, which he does use to counter out this attack. So I'm going to almost throw here, because remember how earlier I was mentioning we had a Makino in hand, and the idea was to swing 5k or 7k with Nami using Makino. For whatever reason, I brain farted and I did not do that, and I just straight up attached 3 Dawn onto Nami. And it would just swing 5 into his leader, which he does take, which would have been perfect if we weren't 1 Dawn short from activating Rush Luffy and his effect. Because we still need to play 2 characters to be able to shambles out. And so there you saw earlier, we were confirming that my math was correct, because I just realized we were 1 Dawn short. So change of plan here, we're instead just going to block her up and then shambles out a restand Law just to have another body on the board. And so now, this upcoming turn, there is no scenario really where he survives the following turn, so he just does have to go all in. Luckily for us, we do have 2 blockers up and 2 lives, and at the very most, he has 6 attacks. So as long as we're able to block this out properly, we should have it. We have 1 active Dawn there, but I don't actually have anything. That was a bluff. We don't have a Radical Beam or Guard Point or anything. And we do have to be careful of his leader ability and the ability to restand after KOing one of my characters. And so we do have to be careful when we use a blocker, since ideally we don't give him the opportunity to use that leader ability. And so that's why it took so long to think here how to counter out that first swing from that 7k Sakazuki. Did we want to use a blocker now just so he misses 1 opportunity to restand his leader, or do we just want to counter it out with the counters in our hand? And I opted to go for the route of just countering them out, just because I think it's safer to just counter out these smaller attacks if we can. And then here with a second swing, then we're going to use one of the blockers. Here he's going to swing 8k, which we are going to take, not necessarily because we want to preserve the blocker, just because we're going to be taking this life anyway, so I would rather just want to see what was here. Maybe we get a radical beam, and that just pretty much seals the deal. And so right now we still have about 3,000 in counter here. And so it basically comes down to, does he swing 7k or 8k with this Kaku? And luckily for us, he does choose to swing 7k, and so we had just enough counter to stop that attack. And so now with a blocker up and 1 life, it was pretty much impossible for him to win. And he quickly realizes that, and he just concedes. I forgot to mention that this was actually the finals, and so we did manage to win it all this week, even though I tried my very hardest to throw the game away there. But I'm going to stick to the story that I actually extended the game for entertainment purposes, so you're welcome, guys. So that's it for me, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing. You guys know the drill. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.